Somebody needs to start a petition to have David Lee Roth play the next Joker. After our King Crimson review from last week, I started looking at some of the most iconic debut albums of all time, and obviously this was on every single list that I looked at. The guitar tone specifically that Eddie used engineered not just an entire genre of music by itself, but an entire decade of music to come after that. So I'd love to hear some disagreements in the comments, but I think it's easily for the top Van Halen album, either this one or 1984.
My personal favorite is Van Halen 2, which came out right after this one. I don't know.
Okay, we don't even need to go to the comments for disagreements. We got one right here. Go ahead.
2, then 1984, and then... No, this one, then 1984. It's tough.
We can honestly make a superstar lineup with the people who died last year, right? You got Neil on the drums. You got Eddie on guitar. You got, I don't know, MF Doom on vocals.
Yeah, MF Doom on vocals. What do you think that band would be called?
A farewell to MF Halen. No one was making music like this in 1978. I actually had to CNN fact check my Apple Music. I didn't believe this came out in the 70s. Without further bullshit, Runnin with the Devil. Trying to be prominent playing bass in a band with Eddie Van Halen is not an easy thing to do, but Michael Anthony gets it done on the opening track. The staccato notes paired with the guitar harmonics and the ambient noises in the intro provide a seamless transition into the main song.
You know the beginning sound? They sampled car horn sounds from all of their cars, and then they put it through a pedal and a foot switch, and that's how they made that noise. Dun, dun. They're famous for their background vocals. Michael Anthony did a majority of those.
To me, it's always more impressive when the lead singer can contribute an instrument rather than just having a guy screaming and distracting from the musicianship, but the energy and the unique vocal style of Roth allows him to more than pull his own weight.
This is one of their most iconic songs that I will admit I've turned off many times because of how many goddamn times it's been on the radio, but still, solid piece, like you said. No singer has really ever imitated or been quite like him.
Van Halen begins their legendary career with one of their most legendary songs, so I give it an 8 out of 10.
8.5.
I have a Biden-level memory when it comes to my childhood, but one thing I'll never forget is when my dad played the live version of Eruption for me the first time. I vividly remember sitting on the computer watching the live version and refusing to believe that any human being could do what he did on that stage that day, and I hold that belief to this day.
Wow. Yeah, that was perfectly said. Holy shit. Growing up as a bass player, I never really gave much attention to guitarists, of course, because, guitar bad, bass good. When I heard this on the radio, I was like, is that a guitar or is that like a computer generated? How could anybody ever possibly play something like that? For a debut album, he wanted the world to know what he could offer, and there was no better introduction than this.
The lightning speed and tapping technique is one thing, but I always found it amazing was the incorporation of almost classical sounds and sections, almost like a mini Mozart tribute, which it probably really is because that's what he named his son. I didn't think it was possible to incorporate the complex melodies of classical and give them a hard rock edge, which of course led to me being the prog purist that you know and love today.
I mean, you get people like Steve Vai and John Petrucci, fantastic in their own sense, but I've never heard a solo that's even remotely attention grabbing and universal as this one.
Now, this is going to be one of the rare exceptions where my favorite song on the album is not my highest rating. Because of the influence and the importance of this solo, it's going to get a 10.
Oh, good.
By itself.
I wrote here too, I gave it 10. Anything less than a 10 is a crime punishable by burned at the stake and hanged at the same time.
To be able to redo a song in your own style so well that people have to do research to find out what the original song was speaks volumes to the legacy of the band and this album. Eddie and David Lee Roth bring to life the performance, Roth keeping his same level of energy while also nailing the inflections from the original song, and Eddie by his crazy guitar tone and continuing the popularization of the tapping technique.
Like you said, I had to look up the original. I didn't even know this was a cover the first time. They took the core values of the song, they kept it the same, but they dabbled the icing and the sprinkles of Van Halen.
Alex nails the fills while Michael Anthony is nice and prominent in the background as well. We're on song number 3 and already it's starting to feel like a Van Halen Essentials compilation. 7.5. Let us unite under one symbol. The song starts out with one of the best riffs of Eddie's career and then transforms perfectly to fit the rest of the band when they enter. The song is like an intense roller coaster ride with several breaks and intensity, with changes to the guitar tone and softer drumming before quick build-ups and drops again.
It was supposed to just be a punk parody and like a stupid thing, just like two chords. I mean, he's saying it as if like, oh yeah, the song's whatever, and yeah, it is one of the most grabbing songs for me because of the tone he used.
If this song doesn't make you want to attend a blowout music festival in Israel, you're probably going to hell. Combo of Alex pounding the drums, the massive backing vocals with Roth's enthusiasm, thumping bass and powerful guitar create a special kind of energy. This is easily my favorite track, not just the album, all of Van Halen's discography other than maybe Jump in Panama. This gets a 9.5.
Wow. 8.5.
A lot of the theme carries over from prior songs on this one. The harmonization on the hook is a nice touch, but on this track, Alex stands out the most, just going absolutely apeshit.
People don't forget that Alex is also, I think, one of the top drummers in the music scene. This one you don't really hear a lot. The radio never plays it, or nobody really talks about it. Like, oh man, I'm the one. This is the best Van Halen song I've ever heard in my life. Still a solid addition to the album. Kind of feels like it's one of the ones they kind of just threw on here. And
Alex does more with the ride cymbal in the first minute of the song than Lars has done his entire career. The a cappella section was a funny little touch in the middle of the song by paying tribute to that barbershop quartet style. Keeps the same energy we want to see from Van Halen, so I give it a 7.
It's like you stole my rating.
Again, like previous tracks, the harmonies on the hook make the song memorable, paired with crunchy guitar and hard thumping bass. Eddie driving up the gain on this record allows him to be much more expressive than his peers with distorted rings and pinch harmonics. And if you think about it, distorted guitar is actually the foundation of earrape. Yeah. And now, to honor the legendary Eddie Van Halen himself, the rest of this segment will be done in earrape.
Alright, so anyway, Jamie's Cryin, which is a very iconic song chorus, is always the crunchy guitar from Eddie, and then the rock solid backbone of Michael and Alex.
This is going to get really annoying really fast. Eddie putting down a separate track for the rhythm and the lead echoing and harmonizing the vocal melody adds a really nice layer towards the end of the song. Halfway through, this is very much looking like a strong contender for the best debut album ever. So I give it a 7.5.
The album has not fallen off in terms of energy and musicianship. So, I give it a 7.
One of the coolest things about Eddie was his ability to make insane noises you'd never think would be able to come out of a guitar. Like, I saw a video the other day of him making, I don't know if you've ever seen it, the horse noises.
That horse or elephant noise?
And there was also an elephant noise in there. It's exactly what he does here on the record scratch noises at the beginning as he and Alex lead us into this one.
I love the opening riff to this one. It's like, just keeps you entertained for the rest of the song.
This is an area of the album that I was not too familiar with prior to this review, and just from the first track, it's not apparent why.
He used Dunlop MXR Phase 90.
Yes, the Dunlop RX Phase 90. I know exactly what the fuck that is.
A rockin' song, but not one of the ones that really stands out to me too much, so I gave it a 7.
The bass and drums also follow really nicely and tight together throughout. Another solid Van Halen track. I feel the same way, so I gave it a 7 as well. Again, there's nothing here that would really suggest a drop-off in quality. The vocal melody on this hook is possibly the best on the record so far. All that being said, there's not a tremendous amount of variation in sound being offered here. You could have tacked this onto the back end of either of the last two songs, and I would have not been able to tell the difference.
It's fun to sing along to, I would have to say, but it's definitely not something they made, I think, to stand out. This is more of capturing their essence of the party.
It's the regular formula of a lick from Eddie paired with the subtle drum backing layer from Alex that goes right into the main section after the fourth measure, paired with the hook harmonies and a lead by Eddie before the outro. That could have been the description of any of the last 3 songs. I'm not trying to suggest this is a bad song at all. It's a solid piece that would take anyone a while to master, but as part of an album, it doesn't add as much as, say, any of the first 4 songs.
I would give this one a 7 also.
As a song by itself, it would be more in the 7 range, but as a part of the album, I give it a 6.
I keep it a 7 just to how iconic and radio hit type.
And also so the comments don't come after you.
Yeah, they can go after you. That's okay.
Finally, the change-up I've been looking for the last couple songs. The thumping rhythm and gritty guitar gives it a Zeppelin feel, but with the Van Halen flair. Roth also matches the feel nicely as he's a little more dialed back than previous songs. The harmonics at the end of the chorus are a really cool addition from Eddie, and the lyrics do a nice job of painting imagery similar to the theme of Subdivisions, which we did a cover of, which you should go watch.
Awesome. breath of fresh air on the album. This one I think is also more lyrically heavy than other ones, which was interesting to see from David Lee Roth, because you're used to him being the crazy, doing splits, karate moves.
I can only imagine the conversations that they had, because I know they had a big disagreement on what direction to take the band in. Like, the rest of Van Halen just wanted to play rock music. David Lee Roth probably like, okay, so first I'm going to put on these assless chaps, right? And then I'm going to stage dive and do like a split where I touch my toes. And then I'm going to take off more clothes. And then I'm going to dry hump something.
Yeah, I think they were just all so high on stuff. They're like, it sounds good, bro.
Even through Eddie's solo, Michael Anthony stood out with a really cool bass riff in the background. Another solid Van Halen song, so I give it a 7.
I gave this one an 8.
This is the first time I've heard Eddie play the acoustic. Of course, he did it in Spanish Fly, but that was after this album. Despite the twangy acoustic, Roth's vocal style gives it a blues feel, which surprisingly makes a nice combo.
Not one of my favorites. This one's more like if you were a girl in 1978, like you'd be like, ooh, this is the song for me. It was respectful for the cover, I think.
They, of course, finished the song in their traditional style, which we know and love them for, so I give it a 7.
A 6.5.
An extended riff is never a bad option to finish off a great album. The song sounded like a blast to make, and that's evident with the silly falsetto and screams from Roth. The scales by Eddie were also interesting to hear, very similar to John Petrucci, who I'm sure was inspired by Eddie. The bouncy bass was also nice to hear on the outro, and it was a very solid conclusion to the record.
Alex came in hard with the drums on this one. Eddie used his Ibanez Destroyer shark guitar, which gave the sharp harmonics and crunchy distortion.
This video is sponsored by the Ibanez Shark guitar. Promo code SIW show for 27.69% off in the description. Overall, it was a nice return to the form to finish off the record, so I give it an 8.
I give this one an 8 also. Solid contribution to the album.
Overall, it's easy to see why this was on every single list of the top debut albums of all time. Whenever they went to bars when they were first starting out, they always just smoked the shit out of everyone. That's no surprise. They smoked the shit out of even professionals here on their debut albums.
To start off a career, you couldn't have done it any better than the way they did. They brought life to the instruments they play that other people weren't doing at the time. They really defined what it is to be a rock band.
Overall, I give it an 8.
I give it an 8 as well.